Human population growth. Learning objectives. Describe the change of human population size over time. Explain why population growth rates differ between countries. Explain how the environment affects human population changes. Historical overview. The size of global human population is still increasing, but the rate of global population growth is decreasing. Growth through time. Increased rapidly, improved nutrition, sanitation, medicine, and public health dramatically reduced death rates. Yet birth rates in much of the world remained high. Lower death rates and high birth rates led to exponential growth. It took 123 years for the human population to double from 1 billion in 1804 to 2 billion in 1927. Then it took just 33 years for the population to grow another billion. That exponential growth continued until 1999, when growth began to slow down. Patterns of human population growth. Demography is a scientific study of human population. Demography explains characteristics of human population and attempts to explain how these populations will change over time. Scientists have identified several social and economic factors that affect human population growth. Birth rates, death rates, and the age structure of populations help to predict why some countries have high growth rates and other countries' populations increase more slowly. Demographic transition is a dramatic change from birth rates and death rates to low birth rates to low death rates. The demographic transition is divided into 5 stages. In the United States, for example, they passed through demographic transition in stages 2 and 3 between 1790 and 1910. In parts of South America, Africa, and Asia that are passing through stages 2 and 3 now, the stages are stage 1, which is stable to slow increase, stage 2, which is very rapid increase, stage 3, which is slowing increase, stage 4, which is decrease and then stable, and stage 5, which is stable to slow decline. They're showed in the graph. Age structure and population growth. Demographics can predict how fast a population is growing by studying what is called age structure diagrams. The age structure of a population reveals a number of males and females of different ages. A higher percentage of young people indicates an increasing population, and the higher percentage of older people indicates a decreasing population. The United States, for example, has a nearly equal number of people in each age group, indicating that our population...
Not go to school where remote learning...
Populations will grow and shrink over time for many reasons. One of those is the birth rate, which is the number of births occurring in a period of time. In this graph, with number of individuals on the side and time on the bottom, the overall birth rate is increasing, which means the population is likely also increasing. Death rate, or mortality rate, is the number of deaths in a period of time. In this diagram, the death rate is dropping, but what does that actually mean? That means that less people are dying as time goes on. This also means that the population will likely increase. The simple way to find out if a population is growing is to calculate the births minus the deaths. If the number is positive, the population is growing. If the number is negative, the population is shrinking. But this is perhaps oversimplified. In reality, there's also immigration and emigration to consider. So here's a more realistic growth rate calculation. The growth rate is equal to the births plus the immigration minus the deaths and the emigration. You can remember that immigration means individuals coming into a population, and emigration is individuals exiting the population. Immigration in, emigration exit. The distribution of individuals among different ages in a population is called age structure. Age structures are often represented in graphs or population pyramids. Let's look at a population pyramid. Here's a population pyramid for the United States. It's fairly stable, and it doesn't actually look that much like a pyramid. On the left are the males of the population, and on the right are the females of the population. You can see that it's more rectangular than pyramidal. Here's another developed country. Again, it has more of a square shape than a pyramid. Now, less developed countries tend to have an actual pyramid shape because they have higher growth rates but don't have as many individuals that live to an old age. A survivorship curve is a graph that shows the number or proportion of individuals surviving to each age for a given species or group. Type 1 survivorship curves produce few offspring and care for the young. They have high survival rates of the young, and they live out most of their expected lifespan and die in old age. Examples of type 1 are humans or even large mammals like elephants. In the type 2 survivorship curve, there's a constant death rate throughout the lifespan. An example of this would be coral. Type 3 survivorship curves have many young, most of which will die at a very young age. An example would be plants. They make lots of seeds, but very few of them will actually make it into adulthood. Now, each of these types of survival have their benefits and their drawbacks. For example, humans have high survivorship, but they don't make as many offspring. If you watch a population begin to grow over time, you'll find that the population size expands by ever-increasing increments during successive intervals. The larger the population gets, the more individuals there are to reproduce, which leads to exponential growth. This graph is sometimes called a J-curve because of the shape of a J that it makes. At this point, there are unlimited resources and unlimited space. But the reality is that at some point, space and resources will run out. As size of a population increases, the rate of reproduction will actually decrease. When the population reaches carrying capacity, the population growth ceases and you see a flattened line. Carrying capacity is determined by limiting factors like space, food availability, and predators. This logistic growth curve looks like an S that's been stretched out, so this is sometimes called an S-curve. Limiting factors can be categorized as density-dependent or density-independent factors. Density-dependent factors include resource limitations such as shortages of food or nesting sites, and they're triggered by increasing population density. With density-dependent factors, an individual's chance of surviving or reproducing depends on the number of individuals in the same area. Density-independent factors, such as weather, floods, and fires, reduce the population by the same proportion regardless of a population size. Both of these can affect where the carrying capacity is. Thanks for watching this episode of Teacher's Pet. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow me on Twitter at
Okay, human populations, environments, and change. Events like the Irish potato famine, the Dust Bowl, and California droughts, wildfires, and floods are all events that were shaped by changes in resource availability. They have caused changes in human death rates, driven mass migration, or both.